The best way to communicate your ideas in a job interview is through stories. So that's why the first step in preparing for an intense behavioral interview should be to write down your stories. Now, how many stories? Especially if you expect the behavioral interview to be the main thing, I'd recommend you to write down 20 such stories, which should include 3 to 5 failure stories. Now, if you need help covering a broad range of behaviors, take Amazon's 14 leadership principles as a reference point and prepare 2 stories for each. These stories should be relatively concise and they should contain metrics. Also, while writing down these stories, you want to ensure you have answers for the generic types of questions. Tell me about yourself, which is your life story, the motivation, why do you want to work for this company, as well as your weakness, and even more interestingly, your strength. Your strength is something you definitely want to brainstorm before your interview, simply because that's your main selling point when compared to other job interview candidates. Expect this first step to take anywhere from 1 day to 1 month, depending on your skill level, as well as how much time you have to invest in this process. The second step in preparing for an intense behavioral interview with a high-performing company is to practice. You can practice this by yourself, you can record yourself, you can practice this with friends, or you can use my free roleplay service, or you can also use Job Interview Coach. Very important at this stage is that you try to use a more templated format such as the STAR format, simply because your employer, it will be a lot easier for your employer to score you using this format and essentially to take notes in a more structured format. The best candidates that I know were also the best ones to self-assess during this stage. So if you look at it from a broader perspective, this two-step preparation process is actually a loop. So immediately after you practice, you realize that some of your stories will not be the best quality, so you'll want to either brainstorm for new stories, for completely new stories, or find the better version of that specific stories. I would say again, the best candidates know exactly where to spend their time in this preparation process, which can either be in preparing the best stories that you have, either in communicating those stories for the job interview. So this would be the two-step process, the two-step loop that you would want to employ in preparing for an intense behavioral interview.